we now with finance acts?
Well, it's a good question. I sometimes wonder myself, but what I do know is that there was a Finance Act 2023 in January, which received royal assent on the 10th of January, I think. And what that did was to bring into law various announcements in the autumn statement from last year, which was the autumn statement following the brief Liz Truss government, so there was a sort of emergency autumn statement. So that's done and dusted. What we have now, though, is what is called the Spring Finance Bill 2023, which will become the Finance Number 2 Act 2023 when it gets royal assent, which is looking like it's on track for sort of the middle of July. And what that Bill/Act covers is the announcements from the spring budget back in March this year, plus a whole raft of really quite large and technical legislation which was put out for consultation way back in July of last year and has now found its way into the bill. So what I thought I'd just highlight today was some of the important personal tax changes in this second finance bill of 2023.
I think that'd be really useful because I don't know how many times we've said, where are we now with finance acts? So it's nice to recap and go through those. The first thing I'd probably ask you is there were some significant changes, weren't there, on pensions tax?
Absolutely. The pensions really stole the headlines in that spring budget back in March, and those have now found their way into this finance bill. So I guess the main highlights was the lifetime allowance charge has been abolished with effect for 2023, 24 and subsequent tax years. There's a new income charge to replace the lifetime allowance charge at an individual's marginal rate on certain lump sum payments that would otherwise have been subject to the lifetime allowance charge. There's also been an increase in the annual allowance, which was for the last tax year £40,000 and for 23-24 is now £60,000. So that's gone up significantly as well. And then a bit more technically here, there's some changes to the money purchase annual allowance and minimum tapered annual allowance so that they increase from £4,000 to £10,000, with adjusted income for tapering increased from 240 to 260,000. All of those for 23, 24 and subsequent tax years.
Anything on, I was going to say, really, anything on capital gains?
Well, the most significant change on capital gains really was in that first Finance Act, which introduced changes to the annual exempt amount. So that is ramping down. So for 22-23, that was at £12,300. For the current tax year, so 23-24, it's gone down to £6,000. And next year, it'll be down to £3,000. And I think it'll stop there for the time being. But that's a significant reduction in the annual exempt amount taxpayers will get.
It is,
A few other much more technical changes that were in this latest bill. There's some changes to the period in which a person must notify HMRC that they're chargeable to CGT, and some other changes to time limits where an asset is disposed of under a contract and the contract completes after what is called the ordinary notification period. So quite a lot of detail behind all of that, which people will need to read up on. And then there were some provisions addressing the transfer of assets between spouses and civil partners who are in the process of separating and no longer living together. So there's some changes to the no gain, no loss transfer rules that apply in that situation. And also an interesting change around private residence relief. So where one of the couples has transferred their share in the main home to the other, the private residence relief will extend to cover that, where that person has retained an interest in the future sale of the property. So quite technical, both of those, but could be very important for people in that position. And then the final thing to highlight really is again some technical changes to CGT rollover relief and private residence relief, just to make it absolutely clear that limited liability partnerships and Scottish partnerships which hold title to land are eligible for those reliefs.
Right. A lot.
A lot, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.